Hi everyone, this is Brad Hammond, your instructor for Art Appreciation, ART131, Spring 2017 semester. And I thought, since we're just a couple of days away from beginning the course, I'd take a quick look at the MindTap interface so you don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to show it to you from the instructor's side for now so you can see what I have set up. I may end up having to do some tinkering in the first week or two to get things running smoothly. But again, if things are not working correctly on my end, you won't get penalized. So we're going to begin by navigating to the Cengage website. That's cengage.com. And I'm going to sign in. And I already have my information entered. I'm going to click the sign in button. And this is going to take me to a listing of courses that I'm currently running right now. Art 131 is the only course I have online this semester, so I'm going to click on that, and you'll find a similar link on your student-based page once you go into Cengage. And this takes you to the Cengage MindTap application for understanding art, the Lois Fitchner-Rathis book. And the first thing that will probably come up for you is a schedule week 1 showing which little exercises are due and when. So if you look at the first week's schedule, it shows you that accessing and taking the chapter quiz is due next Sunday, January 22nd at 11 p.m. And all these times are Mountain Standard Time. So all of these little units are going to be available to you starting Monday, January 16th at 1 a.m. in the morning. So if you want to stay up and have Monday Madness and wait for the course to open, that's great. But when you get around to looking at it on Monday morning or afternoon, you should see everything showing up. Now I'm going to go over to the faculty side here, and this is how I schedule all the units that you'll be responsible for. I have set an available date for every single unit or exercise and a due date. So we'll talk about this in a second, but you have a complete electronic copy of the entire text available to you. So I've made the entire text available to you right at the start of the semester, and it'll be available to you all the way through the end of the semester. So this should be a nice addition to the physical text that you may have purchased. Now the first thing you're going to see is a preview, and if you click on that, you'll see a short summary of what the chapter is about. You can read that, or if you'd like to, you can actually click the little audio icon to read the page aloud.
Preview and learning objectives. Understanding art. Chapter 1, a chapter preview. Chapter 1 introduces basic terminology necessary for discussing works of art and artistic traditions.
All right, and then when you want to exit that page, there's a little X here in the corner, and you just click that, and it takes you back. Right under that, and you do have a preview for every chapter, right under that is your online text, and it's presented chapter by chapter. So we're clicking on Chapter 1, Understanding Art, and it might take a second or two to load because there's a lot of images and data in there. And this is what you'll see. Now you may not, depending on if you've looked at it earlier, you may not start at the beginning of a chapter. So go to Chapter Contents over here, and there's a little drop down menu, and just click on Understanding Art. And it will give you a graphic, which is what is shown at the very beginning of the text. And then you just click Next, And there is the chapter introduction. And you can also have that read to you, or you can change the size of the text. You can also bookmark the page. So as you go through the text, you're going to see some of the images that are spoken about in the text. So you can click on those and enlarge them. I really like this feature. You can get a closer look. You can zoom in on them. So if there's one big advantage between the online version of the text and the physical text, it is the ability to zoom in. And these images are pretty nicely, they're very high resolution, so you shouldn't have any problem looking at details. You can click and drag. And if you see a little link here, all right, if you want to do a little deeper dive into this, you can actually go look at a YouTube video that's linked. And this is, I believe this is Khan Academy. We'll look at this for a second here.
We're going to look at an extremely large painting by the Russian painter Vasily Kandinsky, working in Munich in 1913. This is a painting that's in Moscow now.
So it's a year before the First World War began.
Exactly. And this is called composition number 7.
Kandinsky actually.
Okay, so that's another way you can do a little deeper dive. I'm just going to close that. And then you can go through all the sections of the chapter. And you can also click on any of the images that are included in the chapter. So here's one. This is the Parthenon. And then you can also look at some of the other images that relate to it in the text. Okay, this is the Supreme Court building in Washington. So in the text they discuss what the relationship is between the Parthenon and the Supreme Court building. So again, this introductory chapter is to kind of get you established with some of the basic vocabulary of art. All right, so we're going to navigate away from that. All right, so I've opened up the preview and online version of each chapter right at the beginning of the course, so you've got access to every chapter in the book. And then I'm rolling out a little slower some of the study and practice elements, and these are pretty nice. Here's image flashcards. So this will show you images from the text, all right, and they will download, and you can say, well, this is Vasily Kandinsky, and flip it, and gee, I was right. Also, when you're looking at these images, take a look at the dimensions, because it's a little hard. This is, for instance, this painting is 118 inches. It's almost 10 feet wide. So this is not a postcard, and I think when you're looking at a piece of art, it's always great to have some sense of the scale, and you can lose that when you're looking at a small image in a book or even an image online. So I think this is a really great feature. And you can come down here and click on some of the other images. This is a fascinating exploration of how one artist moved from a more realistic version of a cow, and then I think you can probably just use your arrow keys and navigate to the next one, and there it is. And you can see how it transforms from a more realistic to a more abstract rendering of the cow. Okay, so that's the flashcards. Under that is a guide to studying, which is a downloadable Word doc, and the author has provided one for each chapter, so that you have a little bit of an outline. And let's see if this is going to open up on this. Okay, so I don't have Word. Well, here we go. Let's see if it opens up. Sorry about the dead space, but sometimes that happens. And this is only my second video, so please be kind. Let's see if it's going to open up. And it's going to take a little bit of time. I'll probably just cut this section out of the video. The spinning beach boil of death. Okay, continue. Okay. All right, next are Foundations interactive modules. And this is kind of a menu of terminology, examples. For instance, in the first chapter, the author talks about types of shapes. So you click on that and it gives you a little bit of a, we'll scroll down here a little bit of a detailed explanation. And it also asks you a couple of questions. For instance, here's an image of The Last Supper by Da Vinci. What type of shapes are present in this image? So I would say both, because you have organic images and you also have very geometric images. This forced perspective here in the painting. So I'm going to click both. I might have to, and then I'm going to do an submit, and yes, move the slider to show examples of both geometric and organic shapes in the image. Alright, so you can also go back in there. Alright, so there are the geometric and the organic. So this is a nice little interactive feature. I highly recommend exploring some of these great features in the MindTap interface. Okay, so there's another element here, Projects Unplugged, and I looked at that and I didn't feel that that would be of great value to us right now, so I'm not making it available, and I also have to fix the due date, so I will do that. Okay. Then we get to the chapter quiz. So there's a couple of components in the chapter quiz. The compare and contrast exercise is really cool. And here's how it looks when it first comes up. Your assignment, chapter 1, compare and contrast exercise and practice. You get to practice. So every time one of these comes up, you get several takes on the assignment. So there's no limit to the number of times you can take this assignment, and then when you're ready to submit it, you go right ahead. So let's do an example. Start assignment now. You might have to slide down a little bit. Here we go. Now here are two portraits that are discussed in the first chapter. One is by Raphael, a portrait of Baldassare Castiglione, and the other is a painting by Henri Matisse, Woman with a Hat. So they're going to show these two images to you and ask you a question or ask you to write about it. Compare and contrast the representational approaches that the artists used to create these two portraits. So click in here and I'm going to say Raphael approached his subject in a more realistic technique. And Matisse painted his subject in a more expressionistic manner. And what I've done here is I've used some of the terminology that I've read about in the chapter. So once you've written that, and you don't have to write more than a sentence or two, but write enough so that I can get a feel that you've actually absorbed some of the reading. You can check my work, okay, and it's a pretty low bar on this, and it will tell you answer accepted, needs instructor grading. So then at that point you can submit the assignment. So you can continue taking the assignment if you want. It gives you another chance to come back, or you can go ahead and submit the assignment and just hit submit. All right, and then that's it. Then there are a couple of short essay questions for each chapter. Again, same thing, you have a chance to practice. So you can start the assignment now. And for chapter 1 you have 14 quick essay questions. And here's an image that appeared in the book, and you can refer back to the text if you need to clarify. Here's the deal. I'm basically not going to be giving you numerical grades on these essay questions or the compare and contrast. I just want to make sure that you're absorbing the lessons from each chapter. All right, so you could say, what is the concept? What concept is the extension of the Berlin Museum built about? And you could say dislocation. If you read into the chapter, you'll see that the architect wanted to come up with a visual allegory for the displacement of Jewish professionals, scholars from Berlin during the rise of the Third Reich. So just fire away, and don't be worried about incorrectly using terminology. If I see that you've really misunderstood something, I'm just going to come in and write you a short note and tell you, no, this is really the meaning of the term you used. So again, you can check your work. Usually if you write anything in there, they say it's ready to go, but you can submit the assignment, you can save it, and then you can submit. So work your way through all of those. So we're going to zoom back one more time. Then there's writing about art. So each chapter has these 4 components in the quiz section. So writing about art, it's got to be more than just taking multiple choice quizzes for you to really kind of develop a sense of the message and the aesthetics of the art. So write about art. So here we have one. We've got one, let's see if we can do this. 1, 2, 3 images. One is Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. One is Elizabeth Vigée Lebrun, Marie Antoinette and her children, and the other one is Joan Mitchell, City Landscape. And they're asking you questions about each one. And for this, these images are not necessarily in the book. So you've got to go, for instance, Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. I would just highlight it and copy it, and then go to the Google Art project. And once you get there, I would go to the search and paste in, and then hit return. And you'll see a image of Starry Night. So with this in front of you, discuss this image in terms of style. Well, just to get us going, definitely not realistic, but it would be expressionistic. It's not necessarily abstract, but these are the kinds of things that you need to be able to talk about. All right, so we're going to close Google, and you would do that for each one of these images. Okay, and then finally we get to the chapter quiz. You also get multiple takes on the multiple choice quiz. So, and here's your more standard kind of multiple choice quiz that you're used to taking online. So you basically work your way through that, and it's based on the reading of chapter 1. And then when you're done, you can check it, and then when you're ready to submit, you just submit it. And then you're done with the work for chapter 1. Now, class begins on Monday, January 16th, and I'm asking you to have all of these little practices and the quiz and the little bits of writing submitted by the next Sunday, January 22nd. Each chapter will always be due on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So last semester I taught this course in 8 weeks, which was pretty compressed, and I opened and closed 3 chapters each week, and I didn't make certain things available ahead of time for students, and they got a little stressed out by that. So what I'm doing this time is I'm opening up about 2 chapters at a time, and when you see May 12th, that means that's the reading part of the text. But chapter 1 and 2, chapter 1 is due January 22nd. Chapter 2 is due January 29th, that's a week later, as well as chapter 3. So the first week all you have to do is do chapter 1, so you get a feel for things. Then starting with the second week, you're responsible for reading and exercises and quizzes for 2 chapters. Now this goes through the midterm, and then around the last third of the semester, once we get through March, you start finding that we're down to 1 chapter of reading a week. So your reading load lessens, but what you're going to be responsible for at that point is to be working on a paper, and I'll discuss this in more detail. And that paper will be due at the end of the semester. It'll be a profile paper on an artist. I'll give you more details. Now, at the end of all the chapters, there's a visual glossary. There are art tour interactive maps that show up over the course of the readings, but I've made some of these available to you right off the start. There's also a video library. There's a YouTube playlist with all the YouTubes that are linked to this text, and there are podcasts. So I'm not requiring you to look at every one of these. Some of these you will have to look at during the course of your readings, but I wanted to make the whole library of resources available to you right from the start. So I want you to work through each section of the quizzes, I would give yourself at least an hour to 90 minutes for each set of exercises in the chapter quiz. The multiple choice questions will be graded automatically, but I'll look at each of your other written entries to make sure you are comprehending what you're reading. You don't have to write a book about each piece of art, but give me at least 2 or 3, they can be short sentences that show me that you're getting the idea and can use the vocabulary. And remember, the time you spend on this online class should be the equivalent time you would have spent attending class, doing the readings, and then doing the assignments. So you really need to set aside a good 3 or 4 hours of your time for each chapter. Hit it hard at the beginning of the semester, and you will succeed, and you'll actually enjoy learning about art. So that's all I have for you right now. That's a lot, but I did want to take you through a quick tour of the MindTap interface. And you'll notice there's another set of icons along the right here, which are kind of tools that you can use. Dictionaries, glossaries, progress, study hub, read speaker, all of these things. But for now, stay up to date as these assignments roll out. And if you have any issues, email me right away. If they're technical issues, you should probably, if it's with Blackboard, you should talk to the distance learning people here at Eastern. And if it's a technical issue, every once in a while something goes a little wonky at Cengage. I had it happen once last semester, but they have a pretty good record. So don't delay, and I recommend as soon as you can, start reading, and you can read ahead in the text. I would recommend that. Okay? Good luck. I'm looking forward to you learning about art and me learning about you. So hopefully we'll have a really great semester. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.